Well, you join me just as I'm up to one of my little jobs today. I'm tiling the kitchen. I've got the tiles, I've got everything I need, the adhesive, and the first thing I've decided to do is take off some of these bits of wood trim. Now when I got the tiles, I had a look at the tiles and I lined them all up along the edge here where I want them to go, and what I'm trying to achieve is just the easiest way of making a neat job of it. And I looked at tiling in between the little panelled sections in between these woods, and it didn't work out very well for the size of the tiles. They were a bit sort of off centre to where I wanted them to be and that kind of thing. So in the end I found the best way to do it is if I take these bits of wood off, which really was the way I wanted to do it anyway, if I'm honest, because I think it'll look better. Then I'll have a clear run at it. I have a nice area. I'm going to go all the way up there to do a splashback by where the hob is, and I'm coming all the way over here, and then we'll move on to that side of the kitchen afterwards. It's a galley kitchen, but I've been waiting to do this for quite a while, so I'm looking forward to it. So as you can see, I've laid out the first row of tiles and they fit beautifully. So I've got whole tiles all the way along, no awkward cuts or anything like that, and I've just marked with a marker pen where all the gaps go. So once I mix up some tile adhesive in a minute and start sticking them on, I won't end up out of whack by the time I get to the end. And the next row I shall offset them half a tile, so when I cut half a tile I'll have exactly half a tile that end, half a tile that end, so it'll be very neat and easy to work with that way, rather than trying to cut a little slither off because I've started at a funny position or something like that. Although I've got both types of tile cutter. I've got a wet wheel and I've got a sort of score and snap one as well, so that's not a problem. But often the easiest way is the neatest way, and I think that's just coming together nicely. So I'm going to go and mix up some adhesive. Well, the first thing I've discovered about these tiles, and they're just a pretty standard sort of beveled tiles that you see around a lot nowadays, cutting them with one of these is just a little bit tricky, because to get the bevel cut, or scored rather, you have to turn the tile around and come at it from this way a couple of times or so, which is definitely not how you want to do it, because you should just go in one clean line once and then snap. But they're quite thin tiles, so it's just a question of being a little bit careful. There you go. I thought I'd actually get all my halves done before I started doing the tiling itself, because, you know, once you've mixed up your adhesive you just want to get cracking. So I'm just going to do the rest of these and then we'll get on to sticking them on. So I've mixed up a bucket of adhesive, or a little bit of adhesive. This one goes off quite quickly, and the one I've chosen is also suitable for flexible surfaces such as wood, you know, because obviously that's going to move about as the boat heats up and cools down. Normally you just put the whole lot of adhesive on and stick the tiles on nice and quick, because it's such a small area, I'm just going to actually put the adhesive on the tiles and fix them one at a time, because it's only a metre square or so, if you know, a metre and a half square. So I also have lost my notched spreader, so black mark for me. But I'll just do a rough up the thing like that. Now that's like a notch spread, and we're ready to go. Always give the tiles a bit of a wiggle, and the reason for that is just to make sure there's no voids in the adhesive behind. Just use my special tile spacers. I'll show you a bit more when I get further along. Well, the first row's on, just having a bit of a clean up, and they've gone really well. I've got the spacings just how I want them, and I've just put little spacers in to keep them sort of a millimetre off the worktop as well. I'll do a silicone there later, and just cleaning up, make sure I've got plenty of gaps for the grout to go in, because I haven't decided if I'm going to do white grout, black grout or grey grout. So it's important to keep those clear so that you don't see the adhesive as well. I mean, it's only a very small area. I mean, if I was doing a massive area, I'd work in a different way, but this is just really a nice little sort of potter around on a Friday afternoon, really, so that's good. There we go. I think we're ready for the next row. Second row's black. I bet you didn't see that coming, did you? Going a bit Art Deco. Well, I just had to do a little cut there, so I had to break out the diamond wheel, wet wheel cutter. I used that outside just quickly, and that's just simply for the water gauge. And I was lucky actually, because the start of the cut fell on the edge of the tile, so that was nice and easy. There we go. I've scooped out any grout between the tiles, just sort of like that. Obviously I've removed the spacers, and I'm just giving it a clean over now. You can use what they call grout sponges. You can buy a pack of them in places like Wicks and you know, all those sort of places, but to be honest with you, this is just as good. So just go over, get that all nice and clean, and leave it a day or two. It says you can grout it after 3 hours, but I'll leave it a day or two, and yeah, all good. I know they're not grouted yet, and they'll get dirty again when that happens, but it's nice to see them clean in the meantime, and plus I do live here, so...
Before I pack away for the day, I'll just deal with this piece of wood trim.
Luckily it still does that. blade's a bit blunt. It's done the job though. Now we are. Well, it's day 2 of my tile-a-thon in the kitchen. Yesterday went very, very well, and I probably could have got this side done as well if I'm honest really, but I had other things to get on with and I thought I'll call it a day while I'm ahead. So today I've just been getting on. I've just put the first row of tiles along the bottom. I'm very lucky again, just 6 hole tiles, fit absolutely perfectly the way I've worked it out, but things will get a little bit trickier in a minute, because I've got all the electrical sockets. There's 4 electrical sockets here. You can just see them peeking out from under the cabinets there, so quite a bit of cutting to do. So I'm going to start marking out the tiles for that. One thing I don't have to worry about, the power's not on at the moment. Well, quite unusually for me, I've got the engine running at the moment because the batteries were down to 50% this morning. There's absolutely no sun around today. We're in the midst of a storm. I've set the tile cutter up outside on the hatch of the bow deck, the well deck, and covered it with a tarp in between uses, but it should be okay because you know, it's a wet wheel, it's used to splashing water and getting all soaked anyway, and so I'm just nipping out there, cutting me bits of tile as I need, and then nipping back in again. See if this one fits. I've checked it already. So they have to be cut quite accurately around these, there's not that much of a lip. It's another one marked up.
Here's where I'm cutting the tiles. I'll just give it 5 minutes, I think.
I couldn't have picked a worse day for it. It's another one done.
Yes, they're getting quite messy, but don't worry about that. It'll all be cleaned up later. As long as they're all nice and straight, that's all I'm concerned about for now.
Well, I'm just having a bit of a clean up for now. All the tiles have gone on great. I was quite lucky with the way they worked out with where the main sockets were. What we'll do is have a closer look once I've grouted it and put the main sockets back on, but for now I think we're pretty much there.
Meanwhile, let's enjoy the last of the afternoon sun for a moment, as the worst of the storm seems to have passed now. Tiles now grouted. The sockets are back in place. Job done. Coming up in next week's episode.
Let's get blown straight back in again. Well, that wasn't at all scary.